If you've been following the Hudson and Rex saga, you already know this has been a disaster from the very beginning. But if you're just catching up, let me paint you the full picture of how spectacularly this show managed to destroy itself. It all started when John Reardon, the man who brought Detective Charlie Hudson to life for 7 incredible years, was unceremoniously fired from the show. And the worst part, it happened right after he recovered from tonsil cancer. Yes, you heard that right. John spent months battling cancer, getting treatment, fighting to get healthy again, and the moment he was cleared to return to work, the producers decided they didn't want him anymore. They chose to go in a completely different direction. A direction that didn't include the main character that fans had loved and supported for nearly a decade. The news broke like a bombshell across social media. At first, there were rumors. People noticed John wasn't in the promotional material for Season 8. The posters showed a new face, Luke Roberts playing a character named Detective Mark Hudson. Fans were confused. Where was Charlie? What happened to John? City TV stayed silent for a while, which only made things worse. The speculation grew. Some fans hoped it was just a temporary thing. Maybe Charlie was on a special assignment and would return later in the season. But deep down, a lot of us knew something was very wrong. Then the confirmation came, and it hit like a freight train. John Reardon himself took to Instagram and made it clear that he didn't choose to leave. He wrote about how this wasn't how he hoped his 7-year journey would end. He thanked the fans for their support, talked about his recovery, and made it clear he was moving forward with new projects. But you could feel the pain in his words. This wasn't a graceful exit. This wasn't a mutual decision. And that's when the fandom exploded. People were furious. Social media lit up with posts demanding answers. Why would they fire John after he beat cancer? Why would they think they could just replace Charlie Hudson and expect fans to go along with it? The hashtags started trending. Bring back Charlie. Justice for John Reardon. Cancel Hudson and Rex. It became a movement. Fans weren't just upset about losing their favorite character. They were disgusted by the way it was handled. There was no respect, no dignity, no proper send-off for a character who had been the foundation of the show since day one. And then Season 8 premiered, and it was somehow even worse than anyone expected. The show tried to explain Charlie's absence by saying he went missing. Just missing. No real explanation, no closure, nothing. And then, as the season went on, they started referring to him as dead. They killed off Charlie Hudson off-screen, gave him no proper farewell, no emotional goodbye. Nothing that honored what he meant to the show and to the fans. It was lazy, it was disrespectful, and it was the final nail in the coffin for a lot of viewers. People stopped watching in droves. The ratings tanked. On IMDb, Season 8 episodes were getting some of the lowest scores in the show's history. Fans left scathing reviews, not because they hated the new actor, but because they hated what the show had become. Hudson and Rex without Charlie Hudson wasn't Hudson and Rex. It was a hollow shell of what it used to be. The chemistry was gone. The heart was gone. The soul of the series had been ripped out and replaced with something that just didn't work. Luke Roberts did his best, and honestly, it's not his fault. He walked into an impossible situation. But no matter how good of an actor he is, he couldn't replace what John Reardon brought to the role. Charlie Hudson wasn't just a character. He was the emotional core of the show. The backlash wasn't just limited to angry social media posts and bad reviews. Fans started organizing. They wrote letters to the network, to the producers, to anyone who would listen. They created petitions demanding that John Reardon be brought back. Some fans even stopped watching City TV entirely, boycotting not just Hudson and Rex, but other shows on the network as a form of protest. It was a level of fan activism that you don't see very often, and it showed just how deeply people cared about this show and about John. But here's where things get really interesting. Despite all of this, despite the horrible ratings, despite the fan outrage, despite everything pointing to the fact that Season 8 was a complete disaster, the showrunners pushed forward with Season 9. Victoria Manson, one of the cast members, posted on Instagram that Season 9 had not only been greenlit, but had already finished filming. The announcement was met with disbelief. How could they possibly think this was a good idea? How could they look at the wreckage of Season 8 and decide that the best course of action was to keep going without addressing any of the issues that fans had raised? It felt like a slap in the face. The production company, Shaftesbury, seemed determined to keep the show alive no matter what, and for a while it looked like they might actually get away with it. After all, Hudson and Rex had international distribution. It aired in multiple countries. It was a valuable property for Canadian television. Maybe they thought they could ride out the storm, that eventually fans would accept the new status quo and move on. But they severely underestimated how much this fanbase cared about John Reardon and Charlie Hudson. The set crew started leaking information about Season 9. Photos from filming appeared online. Behind-the-scenes content showed that production had wrapped. Everything pointed to Season 9 being completed and ready for release. But there was one problem.